Welcome to another top 5 with Kris 5 guys. Today we're gonna be looking at all of the best decks after the latest patch came through, so you guys know what to be playing with, as well as what you're expected to be playing against. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be awesome. I do my best to give you guys top 5 meta reports, as often as needed, as well as detailed deck guides, coaching gameplay with a lot of commentary, and all of that good stuff, so if you're serious about Hearthstone, this is the place for you. Now, let's get into the decks.
You are not prepared!
We're obviously going to be using HS Replay Premium so we can actually see how the meta is forming, and I genuinely believe this is the best place for you guys to be getting your stats. And yes, even though I'm sponsored by them now, I always recommended this site, I always use it for my meta reports, and I always will. I don't care if I'm sponsored or not, I just genuinely believe this is the best place to get your meta reports. The big winner from Diamond 5 to Legend is still going to be Demon Hunter, and I gotta say, Demon Hunter has so many broken decks right now for Diamond to Legend, it's not even funny. Guys, like so many thousands and thousands of games with 60% win rate, different iterations of Pain Demon Hunters, and I genuinely am shocked that nothing got touched about this deck on the last patch, and I to this day don't know why. This Pain Demon Hunter is definitely one of the easiest decks to be climbing to Legend with because it has so much damage and it has so much sustain and it has so much inevitability. You have tons of phase damage with things like acupuncture, hot coals, quill boars which come back over and over and over again, which just heal you back to full, sticky boars with the help of Ravenous Spell Hunters, and at the end you even have frickin' Endbringer Umbra, which the name doesn't lie guys, she really does bring the end, either with another very sticky board, or just with straight up bunch of phase damage with all those death rattles. The deck is pretty simple, it does rely a lot on getting your ball hog on time, but then again, the deck is also built entirely to get your ball hog on time because you do have your Tusk Piercers, your hard mulliganing for the ball hog, you have plenty of card draw and all sorts of shapes, ways, and forms, so not being able to get ball hog is gonna be something that's gonna happen 1 times out of 10, so all around the deck is very reliable and good to be playing right now. You can definitely check out my detailed guides about this variant of the deck, as well as several others which are also as cracked as this one, if you want to be hitting easy legend. On the matchup section right now we can see there's not that much stats, which is honestly kind of surprised. This deck is still one of the most popular ones out there, but as you see everything is hella green. I'm gonna go a step further and actually go for similar variants, like this one for instance has a single Nightshade Tea instead of Zephyrus, so let's see what the matchups here look like. And again, nothing but green, except for a few outliers with things like Taunt Warrior. Drunk Pally was pretty strong, nowadays it's not as popular, but if you saw my video you were gonna see it's still pretty much as strong as ever. And Buff Hunter can also be a problem, but everything else, like literally everything else, at least 50-50 or a lot far from it in the positive side. Going first and second with this deck, you're always going to be looking for your Tusk Piercer, your Grim Harvest. The Brain Masseuse on one is great. If you don't have the Tusk Piercer already, Ball Hog would be a no-brainer, but honestly even if you do have it, Ball Hog would still be okay because you could low roll and get your Ravenous Spell Hunter instead of the Tusk Piercer. Waver and Slumber ain't too bad. Paraglide, depending on where it's positioned, like it's on far left, maybe you hold on to it. If it's not, maybe you don't. But then again, if you have a far left Tusk Piercer and a Paraglide in the middle, well sure, you can hold on to that as well. Illiterati Studies can also be an okay key, but try not to be playing it on turn 1 because a lot of the times you're not going to be able to benefit from the Outcast, whereas on 2 and 3 it's going to be a lot more reliable. Xavius can also be a consideration, but it's kind of a second best option, like you would much rather get the Ball Hog for 4. As for on the coin, it's literally the same stuff, get Ball Hog or die trying. For other good Demon Hunters, this is the one I'm showing you, 60.9% win rate, nice, 1400 games. We also have another pretty decent variant, pretty much close to the same thing, with the Nightshade Tea instead of Zephyrus. No, this one also has Zephyrus, doesn't matter, it's a 1 card difference it seems, which is also doing hella fine. We can also see the Sauna Regular doing pretty good, and I do have a guide about that one too. And all sorts of other different iterations with thousands upon thousands of games and obscene high win rates for something with this high sample size, getting 59% win rate. Like, do you know the amount of people botching this deck and still winning with it? Like, it's not even funny. We can also see some slower variations with the Fellbats and stuff. The Space Demon Hunters are also pretty playable, but nothing close to what I already showed you, so yeah, they are definitely a bit slower and a bit lesser of a deck right now. On the number 2 spot, we still have Imbue Pally being quite a strong deck, and this deck did actually fall off a week or 2 ago, but now it's actually quite back at the top. Imbue Pally is quite a nice and simple deck to be playing, not very fun to play against, but But we don't really care about the opponent's feelings now, do we? All we care about is winning. So ain't nothing wrong with that. It's a pretty straightforward list. The only thing that stands out to me here would be that we have a single copy of a librarian in here, so you can actually have a reliable silence, and if you don't need silence, well, at least you have tradable, so you got that going for you too, which is nice. Everything else is pretty standard stuff in here, a couple equalities plus consecration so you can handle some big men, and a Chronos also is quite the kink in the opponent's plan. No Melia can be absolutely broken, and the rest is heaps of imbue stuff. You gotta pay attention to what imbue steps you should be holding on to. For instance, remaining on level 3 imbue so you can get yourself more gold petal drakes can be pretty good. Remaining on imbue level 7 can also be great so you can get that warrior dragon, Yasande or whatever the hell he's called over and over again. Level 8 can actually give you things like Caligos, like the 4-8 taunt, like the 6-6 rusher that only takes 1 damage at a time. And after that 10 gives you the 10-10 dragon that deals a bunch of damage, as well as the 14-7 that can kill a minion, as well as excess damage ghost face, so that can also be hella strong. So yeah, knowing what you need depending on the matchup could be pretty broken. You could actually see my Protoss Priest video and see how fucky it was for me for the opponent to remain on level 8 for so long. He kept on getting taunts and rushes and actually ended up winning that one. So even though the deck feels like random bullshit fiesta, you actually do have some control over that random bullshit, so definitely don't sleep on such potentials. For the matchups we don't have that much stats, but fast decks like Fishing Priest ought to do it for you, and Pain Demon Hunter can also be a problem, but all around the rest of the popular matchups not that bad. We could check this similar deck with a lot more sample size so we can see some better stats, and here we can also see Menagerie Death Knight is too quick, Psycho Rogue used to be too quick, now it's not exactly out there now. The rest still pretty good, so what beats this deck? Fast aggro. So either Menagerie, Fishing Priest, or something along those lines. When on the play in the mulligan phase, you are always gonna want your Ages of Light, the cool imbue cards like Bitter Bloom, like Gold Petal, Red Scale Dragon Tamer is not bad so you can actually fish out the Gold Petal hopefully, and if you're curving into the Flutterwing that also could be a consideration. On the coin, again plenty of the same stuff, so yeah, it's kind of the same deal in it. For other good Pally decks, I think this is the one I showed you, 57.8% win rate with above 1000 games, nothing to scoff at, and we do have similar iterations with same win rate basically, even same sample size, so very capable deck. This one is using Ancient of Yore instead of one of the other cards, so not that big a difference. Other iterations of Imbue Pally still up there, and Drunk Pally, to be fair, is still pretty decent. I did give you a video about it. Here's a very popular list, 55% win rate, 4500 games, definitely legend capable, and even top legend if you're good at it. Other than that, the other Pally decks are just not up there anymore, so yeah, choose accordingly. On number 3 spot, no top 5 meta report could be complete without a Fishing Priest in it, and it's gonna be on the number 3 spot, Fishing Priest in it. This was my bet that this would be a great deck after the patch came through, and why wouldn't it be? It's fast, it's simple, it's powerful, and it's not even that expensive, so yeah, everybody is dogpiling on this one. If they're looking to climb, why wouldn't they? Nothing too special about this variant. Nowadays the imbue package is pretty standard stuff for a deck like this, and it can be pretty powerful, because before a deck like this was suffering from a lack of resources, and with the imbue package that problem is just not as persistent now, because you always get to click that hero power and get something playable, and more often than not that playable thing is actually good too. We do have some amazing one-drops with Brain Masseuse, with Catch of the Day, with Zealous Healer, and you can fish those out with the trusty Fishing Rod. You have a good imbue package going, you have a good pain package going with the Acupuncture, plus Hot Coal Sting. Observer of Mysteries helps you stick that board long enough, and Menagerie Drug gives you a lot of extra stats for cheap, so there's no wonder this deck is this strong. Again, check out my detailed guide about this one, plus plenty of gameplay, so you know what to do with as well as what to do against it. The matchup section is definitely pretty populated here, and you're gonna see that hard control decks like Space Dick and Leech Dick are not that hot for you. Same can be said for the Quillboar, Demon Hunters. Protoss Mage was on the negative, not that popular of a matchup though. The real problem would be Taunt Warrior, where things really get shaky. Space Warlock also not your friend. Everything else pretty decent though. Going first and second, you're always gonna want a good one-drop, like the Brain Masseuse or the Overzealous Healer. Catch of the Day can also be a one-drop for you if nothing else sparks joy, but it is definitely something you'd much rather get through the weapon, because that's a lot of extra stuff. One of your good imbue cards can also be great. Orbital Halo, especially if it's in the middle of your hand or next to a card you're planning on playing fast, would be pretty good. If you already have a turn 1, Shadow Assassin Ascendant can be absolutely MVP, the Trusty Fishing Rod also makes sense, especially if you're curving into it, and even Papercraft Angel could be decent, but I'd keep that if I already have a good turn 1 and an Imbue card, in most cases. On the coin, again, the 1-drops, the Imbue, the Halo, Shadow, it's kind of the same deal in it. For other good priest decks, we're gonna have to scroll quite a lot to actually see something different than a Fishing Priest, but I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised by Protoss Priest, and you could check that video out. Here's a decent list that's doing quite well. It's running a couple of overzealous healers, which I do believe are not that hot, if I gotta be completely honest. I'd much rather have the Catch of the Day variant and nothing else as 1-drops, because your Sentry as well as your Void Rays can also become 1-drops for your weapons, so that is much better for me in my book. Tyrande Priest apparently is also playable, but it's quite the wonky deck, so keep that in mind. The rest of the deck's not really represented. Deck number 4 is gonna be Buff Hunter, and yeah, the deck is actually quite solid. I did try this deck not too long ago, and I gotta say it felt clunky as hell for me in most cases. And it is definitely quite the clunky deck, or at least it can be if it's not curving out properly for you, because you have a lot of boxes you need to check in order to actually high roll well with this one. You can be doing some pretty broken things, including playing turn 2, a very big Bumbling Bellhop, but for that to happen you need to have a reserved spot and no other minions, and you need to be on the coin. You could be playing very big Mythical Room Bears as soon as turn 3, let's say, because the discount is not that big, so it's more like still turn 4 for the Mythical Room Bear in it. But you also have another gear with this one with things like RC Rampage, plus the locations, and that can be a good amount of chip damage too. In some of those games you could also be going for a very big Huffer, that can also be a pretty valid play, but you still need to be dealing a lot of chip damage before the Huffer plays start mattering. But yeah, the stats definitely represent this deck nice and well, so you should be able to climb with this one if you know how to play it, and again, I do have a guide about this one. You're gonna notice we have quite a few big spells in the form of Death Roll, Furious Fel, and Shallow Drusil, and the reason for that is mainly the Bumbling Bellhop, but those spells are also not that bad on their own, because with all them big minions out there nowadays, the Death Roll can be quite a good chunk of damage while dealing with a big fat taunt. Furious Fel is actually also pretty interesting, and you could even make these into 4-frees with the help of things like Leok, and that can be a nice way to bypass the opponent's taunt. Shallow Drusil, a lot of the times you're not really gonna get to play this thing, but if you do, it's still quite the monster of a card, even without corrupting it. You obviously cannot corrupt it with your deck. Still gonna be pretty happy with most of the stuff you're gonna be getting out of it. On the matchup section, we can see there's actually plenty of green, but some of the Death Knights are not gonna be that great. Taunt Druid can be a problem, Fishing Priest a little bit too quick, and Taunt Warrior a little bit too annoying. So you're not exactly a linear deck, like some of the fast decks you're fine against, some of the slow ones you're not so fine again, but all around climbing is still gonna be very good for you, as long as you don't keep on queuing on those few bad matchups. On the mulligan section, you're always going to be happy seeing your reserved spot. The bird watching is pretty good. Couple muscle is a great way to start buffing even as soon as turn 1. Tracking can be amazing. One of your good minions can also be great, either the Mythical Room Bear or the Bumbling Bellhop. And if you do keep the Bumbling Bellhop, you're also going to be okay holding on to one of your big spells, because you do indeed want activation for him. The weapon is an okay thing to hold on to, but honestly I feel like it's a diversion from your main game plans, so I would much rather actually hard mulligan for the really good stuff, so I can actually pop off. On the coin, again, kind of the same deal, so mulligan accordingly. This is the deck I'm showing you, almost 57% win rate, 3,500 games, nothing to scoff at, and we do have a close second with kind of the same stats, so it's above 5,000 games when you combine these two together. Zerg Token Hunter apparently is also doing quite well right now, again with the Amphibian Spirit, with the Extraterrestrial Egg, so that was a pretty fun deck to be slapping with, and it's pretty annoying to play against, so you might want to look into that. And I have been seeing some Discover Hunter here and there, but apparently the stats really don't support it too much right now, but I do believe it's a pretty skill-intensive deck, so these might actually not be the stats that you're gonna be seeing if you're actually pretty good with this deck. And on the last spot here, we are gonna have another Menagerie Death Knight shoutout, cause the deck is definitely still quite capable, very strong, very cheap, very quick, so why wouldn't you play such a thing? Really no reason for me to go too deep into this one, cause we have talked about it way too many times, like I do believe I have 3 videos about this thing already, so nothing really has changed, so just watch some of those guides, watch some of that gameplay, and you're gonna have a very good idea of how you should be piloting this one. I even have a very detailed detailed coaching gameplay video about this one, where we go super deep into all the things you should be thinking about when playing a deck like this, all the things you should be thinking in general when you're playing Hearthstone, so you can really get the most out of the game. There's not a single new card we need to be discussing here, so yeah, let's just move down to the updated matchups. Here we can see some of the control-y Death Knights are definitely not gonna be your friend, Taunt Warrior not as bad as I'd expect, and also Pain Demon Hunter a little bit on the negative, but everything else very decent. When going first, you're gonna be looking for your good 1-drops like Mosquito or Morbid Swarm or Mermy, but don't keep just 1-drops obviously, because your hand's gonna be over sooner rather than later. Brittlebone can be absolutely great, especially if you already have a turn 1, and if you do have Brittlebone, you could also be very happy about holding on to some of your Death Rattle cards, but those are usually a no-brainer anyway, so it's not gonna come down to the Brittlebone. Why were these not ordered by Kept Trade, by the way? That was kind of wonky, but yeah, what I already said is still valid. Things like Infested Breath can be amazing as well, especially if you already have a 1-drop, and if you're curving into it, Eliza Goreblade can be absolutely broken too. On the coin, plenty of the same stuff. I'd say here Eliza is even more keepable, because turn 2 Brittle into turn 3 Eliza can be literally game-breaking. The other Death Knights you could be playing go through all sorts of different variations of Space Death Knight, Leech Death Knight, Hand Buff Death Knight, Triple Blood Death Knight, all sorts of different Death Knights out there right now, so that is one of the reasons why Death Knight is so good. Your opponent is literally not even gonna know what they're playing against until after the mulligan phase is over, so you actually do have a shot at taking them by surprise by what you're playing. I do have plenty of videos on all of these different Death Knight variants, so definitely check those out if you want to really know how to play them. For the classes we haven't mentioned, honestly I was gonna include Imbued Druid, but the sample size for it was just not that big. Like, it's not small, let's not pretend it is, but it's not as big as some of the other ones either. Apparently Dollhouse Druid is still pretty decent, and why shouldn't it be? Just a single mana bump to the Dollhouse is not that big a deal, so you should still be very capable of actually winning with Dollhouse Druid. But Imbued Druid is also pretty simple and still pretty strong. Almost 1000 games, almost 58% win rate, definitely not bad at all. We can see different iterations of it with less samples, with bigger sample size but less win rate, and the rest is iterations of those two. Taunt Druid is also up there, however, and you could check out a video about that one from my channel. Gotta say, the deck felt pretty fun to play, so why wouldn't you? With Mage, Skyla Imbue Mage is taking up a little bit of a lead over Protoss Mage, but very small sample size, and the win rate is definitely nothing to write home about. Protoss Mage still pretty decent-ish. Bit bigger sample size, we have several iterations of it with above 52% win rate, doing kinda good. Another Ryla Mage, and I do believe it's just iterations of these two variants. Not that amazing. The Spell Mage, not that hot for sure. On the Rogue side of things, Pirate Rogue is still actually the best variant you could be playing from Diamond the Legend, it seems. Cycle Rogue took a fat hit, and Space Rogue, nothing really to write home about for sure. Shaman is taking a rise in popularity, with Asteroid Shaman doing pretty well with 55% win rate, sitting comfortably in mid-tier 2, I'd say, 1600 games. Nebulous Shaman is playable again apparently, which is the same as Battlecry Shaman, so yeah, plenty of variations of those two decks. And Evolved Shaman still pretty dog water. With Warlock, Space Warlock seems to be your best bet. Some people have been doing very well with some Warlock variations, but for the majority from Diamond to Legend, not the class to be going for right now. And last but not least, we have Warrior, with Dummy Warrior doing really strong. Again, I do have a video about this deck. It is actually pretty pleasant to play when it pops off, not so pleasant when it doesn't, but yeah, apparently it pops off more than it don't. We also have some Taunt Warriors here and there, Dragon Warrior apparently above 50, but yeah, it's gonna be Dummy Warrior if you want to be climbing with this one. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what you want to be playing in the new Hearthstone meta. If you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be appreciated. Thanks for watching. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.